What's going on? Welcome back to Off the Schneid. Today we're taking a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the 2022 NFL Draft. Free agency is wrapping up for the most part. Obviously, it's open all summer. Things will keep trickling in and trades might keep trickling in and stuff like that. But for the most part, visits are taking place and teams are shifting their focus towards the NFL Draft. So let's look at the needs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a little up in the air, and to be honest, there's a little bit of this that's in there. Quarterback is a situation as well. They have the 20th overall selection, which might not be high enough to get a quarterback. We'll see, and we'll get there in a second. Not a crazy amount of capital, but they definitely have some ammo to make some moves if they want to, if they desire to move up and grab a quarterback. We'll see what they do, and like I said, we'll get there in a second. But let's start at quarterback and take a look at that unit. Mitchell Trubisky comes in pretty cheap. To be honest, I think it feels like he probably turned down better money somewhere else to come here and have a shot to be the starter. Mason Rudolph's still there. Obviously, he's been a third-round pick for this team since 2018. He's been with this team since then. He's obviously not an NFL starting quarterback. I think everybody knows that. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers know that. Dwayne Haskins is still there as well, former first-round pick. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback either. Mitchell Trubisky could be that guy, and I think that he will be, regardless of what they do. I'll say this right now, regardless of what they do in the draft, I think that Mitch Trubisky is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2022, as long as he's healthy. So that kind of opens the door to a luxury of, as long as, and I don't personally move up in the draft to grab this guy, but I think it's very obvious that they like Malik Willis. I think that that's very obvious to anybody that's paying attention to what's been happening. They're obviously, crossing their T's and dotting their I's with visits. I think Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, obviously Malik Willis. I'm not sure if Howell or anyone else, but if anyone else would, I think it would be Howell, and that's it. I'm not sure if, I know those three are visiting with the Steelers. I'm not sure if anyone else are Howell or, Strong, whatever, but I know those three are visiting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that they very much like Malik Willis. I think if he's there at 20, or Ridder, or Corral if they like him, I think you can go ahead and grab that guy. But regardless, I think if it's Malik Willis, I think it's 100% that Mitch Trubisky is the starter this year. I think if it's Desmond Ridder, it's more possible that he starts. I think Desmond Ridder is much more ready to start in the NFL than Malik Willis. That's my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. It is what it is. So there you go. We'll see what shakes out. And if you want to see who I mock them to, pay attention to my mock draft coming out in a few weeks' time. It'll be about a week before the NFL draft. I only do one. I'm not a believer in doing 100 mock drafts. I think that accomplishes absolutely nothing. I want to be right or wrong. So there you go. Pay attention for that. And we'll see what I mock them to do. Maybe they trade up and get Malik Willis. Maybe they stand pat and he falls to them. I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens and pay attention to that. But they got a good room. Either way, they got an okay room to compete this year. I think regardless, you can look at this team as the exact same position as they were last year with Ben Roethlisberger. Potentially, and if you're asking me, and if you're here watching this video, you are, I think that Mitch Trubisky is a step up from Ben Roethlisberger last year. I really do. He's just a bit of a statue back there and his arm was gone. So, we'll see what Mitch Trubisky can do. And either way, I'll say it right now, this team will not be a losing team until that defense falls apart, which I'll get to in a second. And there's no indication, and I certainly don't think it will anytime soon. But again, we'll get there. Move to the running back position. Najee Harris had I think he learned a lot. I think he learned a lot in his rookie year. I'll say that. And I think Mike Tomlin basically, trial through fire type of a thing. He only had 3.9 yards per carry, over 300 carries, and he had like 70 catches or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he had a crazy amount of touches, well over 350 touches. And, as a rookie. And I think that that's kind of just what is... it's shades of exactly what happened with Lev Bell, and we'll see how this shakes out down the road, but it'll be an interesting one. I do have running back as a need, and I absolutely do think that it is a need. Benny Snell is not that guy. Anthony McFarland is not that guy. Trey Edmonds is certainly not that guy. So they're going to have to add somebody in the draft. It's not a high priority. You can wait till the 4th, 5th round to grab a running back, something like that, 6th round even. It's not an issue. They can wait and you can get a quality guy in those later rounds. So it's just a need they're going to have to address. It's high on the priority list, but low on the draft capital list, if that makes sense. So you can wait to grab one, but they absolutely have to grab a guy, in my opinion. Derek Watt's still there, brother of TJ, brother of JJ. Sure, he plays a little bit. I am a fan of fullbacks, and Derek Watt's an okay one, but he's not going to play, every down. That's for sure. He doesn't play as much as those Kyle Shanahan trees offenses, the Kyle Juszczyk, Alec Ingold in Miami now. He won't play as much as those guys, but he's there. Pat Freiermuth had an extremely underrated rookie season because Kyle Pitts was so good. He had, I think, seven or 9 touchdowns, something like that. I can't remember exactly, 7 or 9. Had a very good year, very, very good year, and I think he takes a step forward. He's a good tight end in the NFL and a bit of a red zone target. Obviously, he can get the job done. I like Pat Freiermuth better than I thought I did. Coming into and out of the draft. I think I gave him a rough grade on Pat Freiermuth just because I didn't think it was as much of a need as they did. They addressed it. He's their tight end of the future. It was a good pick. Looking back now, I owe them a bit of an apology. Zach Gentry is like 8 feet tall. He's okay as just a red zone guy and a very quality blocker, big body guy. So he's a good backup, and he can do a lot of things beyond the field at the same time as Pat Freiermuth. So he's okay there. Jay Sternberger, I had high hopes for him coming out of college. He's had some off-field issues, that sort of a thing, but we'll see. He rounds out the room there. We'll move to the offensive line now, where this is just a young unit, and maybe they don't really address it. I have left tackle as their top need. Dan Moore struggled as a rookie, but hey, he was a rookie. So, he played a lot at Texas A&M, SEC quality school. So maybe it just took him a year to learn, and he's going to be that guy. That's very, very possible. But for me, if it's me and I'm running the Pittsburgh Steelers and I'm sitting there at 20th overall and Trevor Penning is there, I'm taking Trevor Penning, absolutely. 20th overall, no questions asked, and I'm plugging him in at left tackle, and he's my left tackle of the future. That's absolutely what I'm doing. I don't mind Okorafor. James Daniels was a great grab. I have no idea why the Chicago Bears let him walk. I really don't. That was a fantastic get for the Steelers. Mason Cole, I think, can get the job done, but they still have J.C. Hassenauer. Kendrick Green is there. He's a 3rd-round pick last year. Kevin Dodson, I think, can get the job done at left guard right there, and Dan Moore might be that guy. And then Joe Haig is a quality, swing tackle. Chaz Green is a quality swing tackle. So to be honest, this offensive line was bad last year. Don't get me wrong, but it was just young. It was just young and inexperienced, and that year gave them a full year of experience. And I think that they're all going to be better off because of it. Do I think it's a complete unit yet? Not necessarily. Like I said, obviously you can see my team needs there, and if Trevor Penning is there at 20th overall, I'm taking him. I am absolutely taking him. I really like that guy. I really like him as a prospect, and that's about the range that he should go. And if he's there, I don't think I could resist him personally. So that's how I feel about this offensive line. I think it's kind of underrated, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of people that are, thinking that they're going to have to address it, and they already have in free agency with James Daniels, plus all of the experience. I preach this a lot with a few teams, at different positions, but regardless, if they're just young and they get that experience, that goes a long way. So I don't hate this unit. I really don't. Wide receiver, they're going to have to add. Obviously, they lost Juju. Anthony Miller's there. He's okay. Steven Sims, I don't mind at all either. Gunnar Olszewski, he can play a little bit. He's kind of underrated, and he can be your return guy. Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson are obviously your clear-cut number 1 and number 2 kind of a thing with Anthony Miller in the slot. I think they can get by with that. I really do. But I fully expect them to address it and add a guy. A guy that I like for this team is a local guy. Jahan Dotson, I think, would fit very, very well for this team and be that slot guy. I think that you can maybe get him at 52. If he's available at 52, I take Jahan Dotson there, but we'll see how it shakes out. That's the offense. Matt Canada's still the guy here. We'll see how it looks with the change at quarterback. We'll see how this offense looks, but it should remain the same with a guy like Trubisky. He's not exactly like a big ball downfield thrower to Chase Claypool type of thing, but I think it's going to be a lot of checkdowns like it's always been, for the past, few years with Ben Roethlisberger kind of losing his arm a little bit. It's going to be much of the same, I feel like. But we'll see. There could be some changes, and we'll see how that shakes out. Defense is going to change here. Keith Butler retires. Tyrell Austin becomes the defensive coordinator. Realistically, we all know this is Mike Tomlin's defense. He still calls the plays. So, but Tyrell Austin is the new defensive coordinator, former defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals for one season, and Detroit Lions. So, he takes over, but again, realistically, this is Mike Tomlin's defense, and it's just a fantastic unit. I mean, I'm a Bengals fan, so realistically, yeah, I hate the Steelers. I do, but this defense is very, 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 very good. They've led the league or been top 3 in sacks for the past however long, and that's, how you win at the NFL level. They've just got to do a better job of protecting their quarterback, but I just went over the offensive line, and I think it's a little underrated. Stephon Tuitt, they're still hoping he comes back. He lost his brother heading into training camp last year and had an injury, so he didn't play at all in 2021. But Chris Wormley stepped in, and he can absolutely be that guy. So there's zero fall off there. But if Stephon Tuitt does play, this unit's going to be just that much better. So it's scary. Henry Mondo, he played quite a bit as well because Tyson Alualu was hurt last year as well. He played 2 games. He's getting a little long in the tooth. He's getting older. He's 34 years old, and he might be wrapping it up a little bit. He was a late bloomer and a pleasant surprise, but he's getting up there in age, so we'll see what happens there. But he can still get the job done as long as he's on the field as that run stuffing, nose tackle type of a guy. But Henry Mondo is right there as well. Isaiah Loudermilk, was a 5th round pick last year. He's growing and being groomed. Probably that's how the Steelers run this machine, is they draft well and then they groom them to be that next guy up, and it's worked for forever. So there's no reason to think that Loudermilk isn't going to be a guy eventually. Cam Hayward is an absolute stud, was second on this team in sacks. Always obviously will be with TJ there. But he's an absolute stud, Cam Hayward. Can't say enough about that guy. He's a phenomenal football player. TJ Watt led the league in sacks last year, 22 and a half. He's fantastic, and he opens things up for the other side with Alex Highsmith, who had, I think, 7 last year, which is very quality. And then Derek Tuska, former, I think, North Dakota State, I believe. He had chipped in 2 sacks last year. He can help out, and he can be a rotational guy, be that backup. And Jannard Avery is just a vet. He's been around for a while. He can get the job done in a pinch as well. So, they're more than fine there. And then linebacker, they let Joe Schobert walk, let him go. I'm not, obviously maybe there's something wrong there. He's bounced around a little bit, so it's kind of it's a little bit concerning, but I think he led this team in tackles last year, and he is getting a little bit older. Maybe that's all it is. Miles Jack comes in, who's fantastic. Devin Bush is still a former first-round pick. They're more than fine at linebacker, in my opinion. Robert Spillane is still there. Marcus Allen. Buddy Johnson was a guy that I really liked last year. Ulysses Gilbert is still there. They're more than fine at linebacker. All the way to the line of scrimmage. Their defensive line is fantastic. Edge rushers are fantastic. Linebackers are fantastic. Moving back, Minkah Fitzpatrick is still absolutely one of those guys, one of the best playmakers in the game. He's a fantastic free safety. I think strong safety is maybe the biggest need on this entire team, if I'm being honest. Like real need, that they're going to need a guy that plays every down. I think that's strong safety, to be honest with you. So realistically, maybe that slides up to their absolute number one real need, where they're going to need a guy. Miles Killebrews ain't it. Carl Joseph ain't it. So realistically, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he's going to need an inside the box strong safety tackler sort of a thing. So we'll see how that shakes out, and we'll see who they end up with. I think that that's a high priority, 20th potentially overall, 52nd overall, maybe 84th. They're going to have to add a guy that can play every down at strong safety, I think. I do like their corners. You know, I've never really liked Levi Wallace, if I'm being honest with you. He's a former 7th-round pick. He played for the Buffalo Bills last year, played very well for the number 1 defense in the NFL last year, the Buffalo Bills. And then he comes over to the Steelers. Joe Hayden is gone. He played really well, so credit where credit's due, but I've never really liked him. So, and to be fair, this Steelers unit is phenomenal. They do have fantastic individual players, but they also just play phenomenal as a unit because they have those difference makers on every level, and they're there's not going to be any holes because other guys can pick up the slack. So I like Levi Wallace here. I like him better with the Steelers than I liked him with the Bills. If that makes any sense at all, I just like him better with this unit. Cameron Sutton can get the job done as well. He's getting a little older, but he's still fine. Ahkello Witherspoon, I have no idea why the Seattle Seahawks let him go, or I can't remember how that worked out. If he was traded, I don't remember how that worked out, but that didn't make sense to me. Former 49er, he's a good player, and he played very well for this team last year, and he's a guy. Justin Lane, I really like. So they have that depth. I do think that they're going to have to add a corner, that they can, coach up and groom to be one of those guys. I don't think it's a huge need, but I think that they should look, maybe 4th, 6th round, something like that, to grab a guy that they can start, the process, because that's just how the Steelers run their defense. They draft, and then they coach up, and they groom, and they eventually become guys. And I think that that's what they need to add in this year's draft at the cornerback position. Strong safety, maybe left tackle. Running back's a high priority, but not till the end of the draft. Stuff like that. I gave you some names in there to chew on as well, but that's pretty much it. Getting you ready for the NFL draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you on the next video.